Welcome to the final 2023 edition of the Tiger Men's Lacrosse Report. I'm your host, Spiro Maricas, along with the head coach of the Tigers, Sean Nadlin. And, Coach, unfortunately, the season came to an end on Thursday last week as the Tigers lose to Delaware in the semifinals of the CAA tournament. A game where you started out hot. It was 3-0 before you could blink an eye. But then at that point, did Delaware do something defensively to change things up, or what was it that the Tigers only scored 5 goals the rest of the game?
Yeah, they kind of sped some things up. They slid a little bit faster, put more pressure on us, and that.
Was it a lot different than what you saw 5 days prior?
Nothing crazy. They ran more zone in the first game, which we thought they'd run a little bit more of in the semifinal game. They only ran it once. We ended up scoring off of it in the semifinal. They played man-to-man, but then they tried to put more pressure on our midfielders and tried to kind of speed us up in decision-making, and we definitely didn't handle that well, which we were prepared for. We've seen that stuff, but, after we had that 3-goal run, they punch back, it gets to 4-2, and then they get it to 5-4. I felt like our guys, we just – collectively just kind of got out of sorts, and we just got into a rut, and we couldn't find our way out of it. It was frustrating to feel and try to get out of it. I mean, we stayed, obviously. We had a few plays that if we made those, things would have been, in a different position. But there's a lot of angst, on the sideline, even though, at halftime we're down a goal. It felt like we were down like 5 goals. Just the feeling in the locker room and stuff.
The other difference from the game a week ago Saturday was that they did much better at the face-off circle than they had Saturday afternoon. What was it that they did? I know they mixed up their guys a little more than they had on Saturday.
Yeah, they competed much harder off of the wings, which we anticipated. So that was a little bit of a change in that. But at the Axe, they were definitely more on it. Depending on how you saw the whistles, with them maybe moving early or us and things like that. Who knows? It looked like there's a few jumps there that could have been called. I know it looked like Matt moved early on one that they didn't call. So it went both ways there. But that was part of the game that we had success in the last regular season game that helped us with those extra possessions that definitely we capitalized on. I think with that part of our game being more even, it created, that tension, within our guys and within our team. And, it didn't need to, but unfortunately it did.
All right. So the season comes to an end, but when you look back on this year, there are a lot of positives leading into the future, namely 3 guys that really helped you on the offensive end in Mikey Weissauer, Ryan Shire, and Joaquin Villagomez. So you've got those 3 that you can kind of build the offense around next year.
Yeah, no, we return a great deal of guys. Obviously, graduate some really key guys that won't be coming back next year. A couple on the defensive end, a couple on the offensive end, but having guys like those 3 that you just mentioned, those 3 freshmen to return with. Some of the older guys with DeMeo and Weber that have, attack and midfield area. Barr is coming back, and we have some good experience. Those 3 freshmen getting good experience this year, playing through a CAA semifinal game. I'd like to hope in their sophomore year they're that much more confident, that much more understanding of what it takes. We had Elijah Smith, a freshman long stick midi, kid. Was living in Nebraska, in the summer before he came to Towson, from his hometown, and he comes in and works his way into, getting on the field, towards the, in conference play, and playing well. So, I think we got some really good production, really good experience with those freshmen that saw action this year, plus the older guys that are around them that, have that experience already, and we get to kind of keep blending it together.
You also have Matt Constantinides coming back, just a sophomore. So he really progressed from last year to this year. Be exciting to see how much he can progress from what he did this season.
Absolutely. And he's got, he worked with 2 freshman face-off guys this year along with Shane Santora. And those guys were terrific against each other, which I think really helped Matt to, have him have the success he had this year. going against those guys working together as well as against each other in practice. And then those two guys, the two freshmen returning, with Joe Meidling and Rocco Moreno, and being able to be that much sharper, knowing they're going against one of the better guys, I think, in the country in Matt. And, for those guys to gain that experience, but also get better and at times potentially, help Matt out. So he might not have to carry as much of the load as he did this year, by those guys being that much more improved and go with a little bit, 2 to 3 headed monster, if we need to at the faceoff X, making us that much more effective and dangerous.
How about in the goal?
We'll find out, just like we did this year. Our first scrimmage against Bucknell this year, we played 5 quarters and played 1 goalie in each of the quarters. It'll be similar next year. We got guys coming back that, losing Evan. Evan gave us a really strong year, played well down the stretch especially. Returning a guy like Luke Downs who, kind of worked his way into that backup role this year. Matt Nyland, who was a freshman for us, did some really good things as a freshman this year, playing, confident and competitive. John Kirikoff and Alex Kaufman, and then bringing in a freshman as well. So there'll be competition there, and looking forward to see how it shakes out.
The non-conference season didn't go the way you liked, and you didn't win the CAA, but you did finish in a tie for second, 5-2. The team came on as the season went on. Fall ball, what will you be looking at, and what will you be looking to try to improve from this past year?
Good question. We haven't really kind of sat down to really assess that. I think coming off the heels of this season already, it's, recognizing I think we underperformed early on. We had a team that was capable of playing better, in our earlier non-conference schedule. And we just didn't perform well. We just didn't perform consistently enough in those games to earn those wins. So, consistency in our play is going to be a theme that we continue to focus on. How we do that, it's continuing to dial into the fundamentals, continuing to pay attention to those little details in what we're doing, just with our simple mechanics of throwing the ball, catching the ball, moving with the ball, shooting, ground balls, like all the little nuances of the game that you see in such a fluid, in the fluid pace of it all. We need to be better at those. We need to be cleaner, in our mechanics and cleaner in what we're doing. And then when we're doing that, making the right decisions with it, so being able to create those environments, create the speed of pace that we want to play to, be able to perform at a high level on a consistent basis. So when we get into the spring, we're hopefully in a much better place from a foundational standpoint to be able to, be better once the game starts.
Is your fall schedule set?
We don't have it set, no. I mean, I know we're going to practice.
I don't know when you normally figure out what you're going to do in the fall.
We typically scrimmage in mid-October. We haven't locked in the teams for that yet. I'll get to work on that in the next week or so, get things figured out there, and keep moving. How
about the 2024 schedule? Is that been worked on?
It should be very similar. I don't see it changing too much. There's a couple teams in there that need to have some conversations with to see if we're going to keep the games going or not. But we typically don't change too much in regards to the out of conference.
How did you feel with the more conference games this year? Did you like it? Did you not like it?
It was an adjustment for sure, because starting that much earlier in March with it, squeezing in the Denver game during the conference play, that was something we hadn't done in quite a while. We used to play UMBC in the middle of our conference, trying to get a local game in there. And then once the conference play really got so important for us, and UMBC was in the America East, we decided to obviously not play that. So it was probably not going to do that again, play a team in the middle of the conference play. Although it was a great opportunity to have Coach T here in his final season and play that game, competitively and stuff. But just, with how difficult the conference play is, how healthy you need to stay, I think we just need to maybe try to move another game earlier into the season. Maybe we'll play in January this year for you. The end of January.
I'm telling you, you need to be a trendsetter. You ought to hold a Christmas tournament. Coach, we thank you for everything this year. and we look forward to next season.
Thanks. Appreciate it, Spiro.
We thank everyone who tuned in during the course of the year, and I'll be back in the fall with Coach Shinnick for the first edition of the Tiger Football Report. Again, thanks for tuning in all season, and we'll talk to you soon.